it's a great honor for me to be here. I really appreciate your invitation and the possibility actually to share my views. It was not very easy for me to focus on something I want to share, but I decided to speak on this polycrisis or perfect storm. So why actually I decided to speak about this? Because we all know that we live now in this multi-crisis, different, in fact, different, let's say, nature, but they definitely interconnected. They can emphasize, they can be connected and be, and it's not easy actually with them to deal for us. Here I mentioned just few of those we know. The first one is about energy security. Anna will cover this very widely. She is expert in this. I will not speak on this. I'm more about, of course, climate crisis. I will be speaking, and about some on food, water crisis, and I will be not speaking on biodiversity loss, but it's a huge problem, huge problem, and all pollutions, of course, all this interconnected. What I want to say is that it's, when I'm speaking and thinking about this polycrisis, it's not about doom and gloom, in fact. So on personal level, we all have such situation when I literally all, we had in our life this situation of polycrisis when we were just growing up. And every time we are on crisis of 3 years, of 7 years, of teenager, we overcome this crisis with learning and with becoming more strong and more resistant. So we can use this actually crisis to build much better life for us. So it's like opportunity. It's not only the problem, in fact, what I want to say. Well, people want it. Of course, it's not new, and everyone knows about these Sustainable Development Goals. We know them like mostly like just a list of different goals, and we can do it. I mean, it's a lot of agencies and everyone who mention about all those goals. But I like actually when these goals represent. It says like wedding cake, but for me it's mostly like toy, toy with a stem, which is a 17 goal, which is about cooperation, in fact. So this is just real stem around what others is actually doing or organizing. But at the bottom we have biosphere. So this is our environment, that's where we live, and it's essential. Without this, all others will not exist, in fact. So after we have society and their goals in society, and only on the top we have economy. So without, again, I like this representation. Actually, this representation goes from prominent scientist Joachim Rockström. And I had the honor actually to be with him on the panel, which was about SDG. It was in Davos in 2022. We were speaking about science, about that science should not be negotiated with business. Science is very clear. We need to make this business sustainable, and otherwise this biosphere will not exist and all this economy will just drop. In this SDG tent, actually, I spoke, but I was really surprised that in the very beginning, people asked me, and I answered that we will recover our Ukraine in sustainable and climate resilient way. So it was actually in the digest of Davos, and I was really, for me it was a surprise because it's Scholz, Putin, Scholz, Klitschko, climate scientists. So it was on the same line. Climate scientist was with others, big guy, let's say. So they listen. Well, why I was invited there? Exactly because I put this connection between fossil fuels and the war. For me, it was just clear when Russia invaded that it makes possible just because they had money, and they still have this money. And that's why actually I started to put this connection, because many actually environmental movements, they stuck and they didn't know what to do, how to speak about climate if we have the war in Europe. And when I said, okay, you can fight against the war and against climate change, so you can continue, and it will help us to win in this war. There were many such my interviews, and after all, it makes me so in Nature in top 10 in 2022. You know, all scientists want publish in Nature, but I never even dreamed that I will be recognized in such a way, and my story was Voice for Ukraine. So just because I put it so obvious for me connection and not obvious for many others. Unfortunately, Russia still paid for her fossil fuels. I made this screen just tonight. So this is how much money Russia got since 24th of February, and how much money went from European Union. So just to compare with what we have as support. So it's not very easy to withstand the country with such huge amount of money, and you can actually follow it's every second it's just goes. Another thing I want actually to bring in this, let's say, block, it's about fake, it's about misleading information, which another crisis in our world. So whom to trust, in fact. So here it's about subsidizing fossil fuels. So it's about financial actual resources which diverted from green transition to subsidize fossil fuel. It's it says that mostly it goes in South America and Middle East. So global South. It means that all community need to put efforts to go there and fight for this misinformation. Definitely, I know much better about climate crisis, but how do we know? How do we know about climate crisis? Well, it's simple answer, because IPCC. If you go to web and just say put because IPCC, you will see this for children. In fact, how it's very nice, 100 years ahead, how IPCC was recognized and everything is fine. So it's a happy end story, let's say. And I would very love that it will happen. But in fact, I was involved in IPCC work. I was author of this working group 1 report in Interactive Atlas and Atlas chapter, where I was responsible actually for North Asia, which is Russian Federation mostly, in fact, just because I was studied in Soviet time in Leningrad, and I traveled a lot and I know this territory very well. So here I introduce the report. Somehow they chose my picture for chapter 1. I was very surprised, but happy actually now. And if we go for how people actually perceive how they, this is the first week, okay, of release of this working group 1 report. And you see how many countries, so all the world, all know, and in every country, literally, there was some publication on this achievement. So in many languages and in many social media, so people know about climate change. Again, IPCC work organized in cycles, and here it's represent this sixth cycle with a report, and here is a, let's say, summary which is just very little words for a message, let's say, from IPCC author that we need to make choice, in fact, and what we do in everyday life as on our own place, actually, as scientists, as administrator, as, I don't know, just lay people. So, but it's choice of everyone. And in fact, it's really interesting because, this is the work of six assessment cycle. It's 23 kilos. I still don't have my copy. They cannot send it to IPCC to Ukraine, but you can imagine how much the best science in this report. But after all, if people ask what you scientists think about this, scientists says about choices, and we will actually do this. Here it's much more scientific way, let's say, represent, but for its representation for policymakers, cause and consequences chain from emissions and the temperature. And here, actually, at the up, you see that actually anthropogenic warming is about 2 degrees. And then we have anthropogenic masking. So it's aerosols and it's other atmospheric small components which actually mask effect of warming. So overall effect is 1.1 there. I personally more like this one because here you can actually see more better this emissions, and on this emission line you can see all crises, economical crises as well, including this blip of COVID. So it's reducing of emissions during COVID time. And what I want actually to show here, which people not pay much attention, actually the rate of going these missions up. It starts from the Second World War. Definitely it goes much quicker, these emissions. So after the war, reconstruction and all development caused these emissions. If we go to concentrations, actually, you will not see it till 60. So 20 years after, so it started to go much quicker, so the rate accelerated there. And if we go to temperatures, you will find it only after 80s, so again, around 20 years after. It means when we start to stop our emissions, we will have less concentration, hopefully. We will see it not earlier than 20 years. And for temperatures, who knows? So we are really in crisis. If we will speak about continents, I hope it will start, or I will start it here. So here, continents and countries. So we put it here in this way. I like it as well. And here, Europe, and you have United Kingdom and Ukraine very close. It's very nice actually to see. But again, so it's again over. Its temperatures over the period of 51-80, and after 80 you see how red it goes in every country, literally on every continent, and it's much more on Europe, you see. what we can do with this, okay, let's try. We cannot just sit and look on the problem, so we need actually to do something. With this, in IPCC, IPCC developed different scenarios. You know about those scenarios, and you know about this representation of temperatures. It goes from Ed Hawking. Very nicely recognize these different scenarios and how this warming will affect people who was born in 2020 and who were born early. So it really depends on our choices. And I very like visuals in order to just to show that how much in trouble we are. It's about oceans, in fact. So how much heat now we have in oceans, in water, which are accumulating, in fact, on our planet of the heat. And it's counted that every second ocean takes from 4 to 6 Hiroshima bombs, energy equivalent to Hiroshima bombs to ocean. And that's why we have so big, actually, warming of the ocean. And here, distribution of daily temperatures, and again, 24th goes out of any normal distribution. And it's really a very dangerous situation where we have. So with this, I want to speak about risk assessment. So that's where I work in Ukraine. And for risk in IPCC, it's very famous, this 3 propeller risk about hazard, vulnerability, and exposure. And in 6th report, it was introduced such kind of propeller with response. So we can do something with this, and we can interact with risk. And when we speak about risk, it's always about probability. And I remember myself sitting in Kiev with, windows put in some stripes, and journalists asked me, the first question usually was, are you safe? And it stuck me in Kiev with all these windows. Am I safe? No, of course I'm not. But just to explain them, I said, look, I'm a mathematician. I will explain you in probability actually function. So the probability I will be killed right now is low, but over 0. And the probability to be killed closer to the front line again is higher. If I will go out of the country, probability to be killed in the Russia-Ukrainian war will be 0. So it's about risk assessment, let's say. The problem is that risk, the same as a crisis, so it's a crisis as well. It can be aggregated, it can be compound, and it can cascade, in fact. And there are a lot of interaction between different risks of droughts, for example, which can cause wildfire and all others. So it's indeed very complex to deal, and in order to find the solution, so we need to understand the nature of this risk. As I said, I work in Ukraine, and I worked for this project, actually it's a European project, where we, it's a big project with different components, and I was responsible for developing strategy and implementation plan of adaptation to climate change in 3 pilot oblasts, where we made this risk assessment for different climatic impact drivers in different categories like heat and cold, wet and dry, wind, snow, and coastal. So it was approach proposed, let's say, by IPCC as well. For Ukraine, so if we go to food crisis, which actually was associated with Russian-Ukrainian war as well. So we were learned that how many people actually in global south were and still depended on Ukrainian agriculture. So we made, it's very recently actually, I guess it's first time I show this, if be honest. We still didn't discuss it even with ministry. But it's our approach how we do this risk assessment, taking into account all climate stressors. And in this case, we see that actually for the let's say the most pessimistic scenario, we have a problem exactly where we have front line now. So this again, so it goes over all others problem in this territory. If we go for livestock, it's even more actually vulnerable there due to more heat and less water in this territory. And I should say that this data didn't account for Krakovska destruction. It was calculated before. So we don't know actually how it will proceed. I, as physicist, can actually imagine that we don't have this big water body, we don't have evaporation, and we will have less, even less rain in this territory. So it will be exacerbated even more. And this just to show this about mean precipitation in our region. So this again projections for Ukraine, where we see that let's say west part will be more or less okay, where east and the south part will be in trouble with the precipitation. So what's the answer? What to do? I understand that it's a lot of problem I already mentioned. So there is a way which we can say as climate resilient development, in fact. So if we take it into account, we have much more chances to survive this planet. So, and it's just one let's say, reason. So economic benefits for people's health from air quality improvements alone will be roughly the same and possibly even larger than the cost of reducing of avoid emissions. And it's clear from many economical assessments that investment in adaptation can prevent losses 200-300 times more than without those actions, in fact. Again, it's very illustrative for policymakers in this figure, where it's different futures just showed. And I like this figure especially because they introduce these shock events, illustrative shock events. These illustrative shock events could be like COVID, could be like war in any part of the world. It could be some major earthquake, or it could be tropical cyclone in some places. It could be actually wildfire like we have, because it's really disrupt. It's really stress the whole world. And again, it's about sustainable development goals. So if we go, let's say, greener, we have opportunity to reach some at least, not maybe all, but some. But if we go business as usual, so our world will be very, very gloom, I would say. So there are no easy solution for polycrisis. And with this, it's like, you know, we need to deal with this like with, on my opinion, as traumatic event. We all know now how it's in Ukraine. We all know that we first said no. So first our reaction, no, it could not be with me, it could not be with my country, it's not with my planet. But it is, right here, right now. And we are in the middle of this perfect storm. So we need to accept it. Then people start to think, okay, I will go for some other scientists, they will say me something other, that's wrong. It woman goes from beneath, from the core of the planet, or something else. So we can do nothing with this. So some other theories, no, perfectly. Science is clear. Climate change caused by human. Full stop. Then people start, okay, we will try to find some solution, geoengineering. We will put some sulfur, we will put some umbrella. It will not solve the problem, because we still will have acidic rain, acidic ocean, and all other stuff. We have extreme events, so it will not solve the problem. Then people go to depression, in fact, so we can do nothing. And I had my depression, I had this depression many years ago when I just got this problem in my head. And then I recognized myself as a mother of 4 children on this planet. So what I can do? So then I just said, okay, I can do what I can do. I'm a scientist, I will speak. And I start to learn how to speak. And when I learn how to speak, I start to use such kind of pictures, let's say, just to explain people what is polycrisis, how it goes. So with some humor, people usually ask me, how you can say so awful things with smile? But what I can do else? So what we can do, I mean, we should survive this. And how we can survive, actually? I made this statement in my first, so I was head of delegation, so I had to say something on the panel of IPCC. And what I said when I put these rules, I said another, so we need to unite, we need to be united. And this what actually Ukraine brings to people. If we can forget our political wills, our religious, everything, we're humans. We're all humans. If we unite, we can withstand any polycrisis. So here was my message actually here. So I said that we will not surrender in Ukraine, and I hope the world will not surrender climate crisis. So after all, we don't have any other choice than just survive and win. So, thank you.